Some players make an impression from the get-go. A reality TV show right out of high school and gaining serious ground right from the bell, Lance Stephenson played tough Coney Island ball to force his way into the NBA. But why is he no longer in the spotlight in what should be the peak years of his career? Before we get into all that, if you want to win a PS5 with NBA 2K22 and Madden NFL 22 included, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. Sliding the doors of 7 NBA teams in the space of 4 years could mean a number of things. You could be liked as a trade option, a utility player versatile to fit in most systems, or a journeyman with a lot of injuries. Most of the above are true, but Lance Stephenson was the kind of player who offered great passing with a less subtle approach to defense. At 6'6", the shooting guard has been known as the LeBron stopper for many teams, most notably in the Eastern Conference Finals for Indiana against James' Miami Heat in 2013. Numerous cheap shots and taunts were used as strategy by Lance in order to disrupt not only LeBron's game, but the entire Heat team. Did it work? Absolutely. Indiana managed to drag Miami into a dogfight and ultimately take it to a Game 7. So what happened next? Well, Lance traveled through numerous rosters and had many more battles with LeBron. But what about the in-between? And how did it all begin? For the start, we go back to his high school career where the hype got so real the colleges came calling for his name. Stephenson attended Abraham Lincoln High School near his home in Coney Island. The school had some famous basketball alumni such as polarizing figure Sebastian Telfair and former NBA All-Star Stephen Marbury. The former also struggling to settle, and the latter being another talented player who sometimes split opinion as to whether he reached his true potential following a 4th overall pick in one of the greatest drafts of all time in 1996. What's crazy is the head coach of Lincoln High at the time actually felt like Lance was the best player he ever had, literally saying, "He's the best I've ever had at Lincoln." And Lance didn't let him down. Lincoln High were back-to-back champions in both of Stephenson's sophomore and junior years, while also winning Player of the Year twice as given by the New York Daily News. In 2009, Stephenson then went on to break the all-time leading scorer for high school basketball in New York State. His passing was just magnificent to behold at such a young age. He constantly had the awareness and vision to put it on a dime in the right place at the right time. So when the scouts showed up, so did Stephenson. The guy was ferocious, and as a result, the exposure was reaching fever pitch, which is why the offers came flooding in. A reality TV show, Born Ready, was documenting Lance's progress in high school and stirring up more fanfare. Because of the buzz, even the recruiting process became part of the narrative. Maryland was probed in a potential investigation as it had been alleged that they had tried to sweeten the deal by giving a tour of the Under Armour headquarters during his visit. The Under Armour CEO was an ex-student at Maryland, so it offered many different theories. Eventually, he joined the University of Cincinnati for the 2009-10 season. And now another problem. He had eligibility trouble. Stephenson had issues over documentation, which caused another fire that needed to be put out immediately. And luckily, it was extinguished pretty quickly as the NCAA cleared him to play in Cincinnati's season opener against Prairie View A&M University. Once again, he showed up when it mattered and was the leading scorer among Big East freshmen and ultimately named Big East Rookie of the Year. This prompted him to enter the 2010 draft. He was selected in the second round most likely because of controversy off the court, including legal troubles, or maybe even question marks over his character. Franchises look into character as much as they do talent, because with the draft, let's face it, they're not just investing in the player, they're investing in the brand that comes with the player. And from the off, everything has to be squeaky clean in order to add a new star to your team roster and your brand roster. After all, ticket sales are one thing, but jerseys sell too. And franchises need to know they're getting the best representation for their jerseys. Indiana was the side that bet on him first, as they selected him 40th overall. When asked why he dropped from a top 5 high school prospect to a second-round pick, Lance responded, "I don't know why that happened, but I just gotta prove everybody wrong." This attitude represented hope for the rookie, but his opening season was blunted by not getting minutes early on and then being dropped for violating team rules in April. Lance also ended up in a number of beefs. The most memorable was when he nearly had his head taken off in a flagrant foul by Dexter Pittman. This coming after throwing a choke sign to LeBron after he missed a free throw. Lance coming into the league and going after the older players as hard as he did rubbed everyone the wrong way, but Lance persisted on the court, and in his 3rd season, an unfortunate injury to Danny Granger, his competition for his position, gave Lance the chance to prove his worth. And once again, he took the opportunity, forcing a breakout year and ended with a career-best 25 points in the second round of the playoffs versus the Knicks. I think we can see the underlying theme of this story so far. Lance has problems, he gets given an opportunity, he takes it, Lance has more problems, he gets another opportunity, he proves himself once again, and so on. The trouble with this theme is if the problems continue to pop up, then eventually the opportunities will stop. Because of a big following year with the Pacers where Stephenson posted a career-best average of 7.6 rebounds and a clean 49.1% shooting average from the field, Stephenson finished second in NBA Most Improved Player award voting. And this was the year that Stephenson went toe-to-toe with LeBron in the Eastern Conference Finals. He may have lost the battle, but he won his own individual war as he was offered a large 5-year $44 million contract. And so we arrive at the midpoint of this fairy tale, one which feels like a false victory because surely this is the moment where Lance takes the deal he's earned and lives happily ever after. Not so much. Instead, he rejects it and opts to wait for a better deal. That never came. So he signed a 3-year, $27 million contract with the Charlotte Hornets, which if you break it down is slightly more per year, but not as much as he expected. It also doesn't give him security. The Indiana deal gave him guaranteed longevity at a franchise that had already backed him, and a group of fans who were already behind him. And here comes the roller coaster. Swapped for Matt Barnes and Spencer Hawes, Lance went to the Los Angeles Clippers only a year later. 6 months after that, he was bounced again to Memphis for Jeff Green. Both of these spells provided highlights of a season best against his former Pacers while in LA and a career-high 33 points while at the Grizzlies. However, another 6 months on and he's shipped once again to the Pelicans where he was waived after only a couple of months. In 2017, he was all of a sudden on a 10-day contract with the Timberwolves, but after more injuries and a second 10-day contract, they decided not to sign him. He then came full circle, arriving back for another ride with his beloved Pacers. And he caused more controversy in a game against the Toronto Raptors where instead of dribbling the ball out at the end, he went for a layup to provoke the opposition. A clear sign of disrespect PJ Tucker took serious issue on. The Pacers only held onto him for a year before declining their team option on his contract. Now let's just think about that for a second. Had Stephenson signed that 5-year contract he was offered only 3 years prior, he wouldn't have had to hit up 5 other teams bouncing around the league like a pinball. And what's more, he'd still have 2 more years on his contract. Indiana held on to him as long as they could, eventually landing him back in LA, but this time with the Lakers. This move came just 10 days after his old on-court rival, LeBron, had joined the team. Lance then acted quickly, claiming he fixed his relationship with James while he was there. But that only buys you respect when in the presence of the king. It doesn't buy you more time. And with one fell swoop, Stephenson was moved on once again, following a slew of injuries which staggered his progress, and unfortunately, he was just never healthy. He spoke highly of his time with LeBron, saying that he actually learned something being his teammate. Despite his newfound maturity, at this point it seemed the NBA had given up on him, and departure from the continent felt inevitable as he would look to follow in the footsteps of his Coney Island crew. The surprise move became more obvious because the same players that went to his high school, Stephen Marbury and Sebastian Telfair, had both ended up in the Chinese Basketball Association. So that's where Lance went for one season. Ironically, the same season the Lakers went on to win the title without him. Lance had a good year in China, named the most valuable player for the terrific 12. But that didn't mean he didn't have one eye on the NBA the whole time. Lobbying for a position to get back to where he belonged, Stephenson just couldn't get the call. Now, at only 31, Lance finds himself without a team but remains ready for the challenge. The finale of this tale unfortunately leaves him sat out and waiting for a call that may never come. But let's not forget, everyone has a chance to turn it all around, even right until the final buzzer. As long as you don't do a layup. Let's hope the fourth quarter of his career still offers him one of those opportunities he used to take and prove himself a good player so often. There's a more consistent and balanced Lance Stephenson still screaming to climb out and reveal himself. He deserves a second chance in the league. It just remains to be seen who gives it to him. Maybe Indiana will go for round 3 and a nice curtain call. After all, who doesn't love a good ending to a story?